You've probably already decided the garden's basically done for the year. It's not. The same plants that turned bitter in June are about to become the best thing you grow all season. And the only reason is the calendar. Cold turns stored starch into sugar. 17 vegetables on this list take advantage of that in 5 different ways. One group doesn't just tolerate the cold. It gets measurably, noticeably sweeter every single week the temperature keeps dropping. One plant is racing the cold instead of waiting for it. 2 weeks late, and you get nothing. Every plant on this list also works in a container. I'll mark the growing zone next to each one so you know if it applies to you. If that's useful, hit subscribe and drop your zone in the comments below. Let's start with Group 1, the sugar converters. All 4 of these turn stored starch into sugar as temperatures drop, which is exactly why they taste better the later you harvest them. Carrots, the clearest example on this list, and one almost anyone can grow. Carrots do fine in USDA, A zones 3 through 10, which covers most of the continental U.S. Carrots pulled after a few frosty nights taste noticeably sweeter than carrots pulled in early summer. The cold triggers the root to turn its stored starch into sugar. The hard part isn't the cold, it's getting them started in the first place. Carrot seeds need steady moisture on the soil surface for 2 to 3 weeks just to sprout. And dry soil kills more carrot plantings than anything else. Lay a damp board or piece of burlap over the row to hold that moisture in. Just check underneath it every morning and pull it off the second you see sprouts. Shorter, stockier varieties like Nantes handle rougher soil better if your bed isn't dug deep and loose. And if you're in Zone 7 or warmer, you don't even need to rush the harvest. Mulch the bed and leave the roots in the ground. They'll keep getting sweeter the longer they sit. Kale. There's almost nowhere in the country you can't grow kale. It handles zones 2 through 11 without complaint. But it's the cold response that really sets it apart from anything else on this list. A hard freeze doesn't just make the leaves a little better, it turns them into a genuinely different food than what you'd get in early fall. Red Russian softens fastest after frost. Lacinato holds its texture longer into winter. When you harvest, pick the outer leaves first and leave the center alone. It'll keep growing new leaves from that center for months. One more thing, if you're in Zone 7 or warmer, you can skip bringing it in altogether. Kale just stands there through the cold, no protection needed. Collard greens, the toughest plant here, full stop, and mostly a warmer climate crop, since it needs Zone 6 or higher to really produce all winter. In warmer zones, it'll keep producing long after most of the other plants on this list have finished for the season. Before the first hard frost, the leaves taste sharp and a little bitter. Afterward, that bitterness fades and the flavor turns rich and genuinely sweet. Same trick as kale. Give it real space when you plant. The leaves grow big and crowded plants choke each other out. Beets, 2 harvests, 1 planting, and this one grows just about everywhere. Zones 2 through 10. The greens come first, ready well before the root, and they cook down like a slightly earthier spinach. Just don't pick every leaf off the plant. It needs some leaves left to keep feeding the root, or the root stays small. The root itself sweetens the same way carrots do once temperatures drop. Here's something that surprises first-time growers. A beet seed isn't really one seed. It's a small cluster. So several seedlings usually sprout from the same spot. Once they come up, pull the weaker ones out early and leave just 1 or 2 per spot. Skip that step and you'll end up with a crowd of small stunted roots instead of a few large good ones. That's Group 1, plants that reward patience. Group 2 flips the script, 5 plants that get you a harvest before you'd expect, some ready in under a month. Group 2, the fast finishers radishes. Almost anyone can grow this one. Radishes handle zones 2 through 10 without any trouble. They're also the fastest root on this list. Most varieties finish in under a month. Here's the catch. Once they're ready, you don't have much time. Leave them in the ground just a few extra days, and they turn spongy and sharp tasting instead of crisp. Don't plant them all at once. Sow a small new row every 7 to 10 days instead, so you get a steady trickle of fresh radishes instead of 3 pounds at the same time. Arugula covers zones 2 through 11, which is most of the map. It's also fast, possibly even faster than radish, depending on the variety. Temperature changes the flavor too. Grown in real heat, arugula turns aggressively peppery. Grown in cooler weather, that bite mellows out into something closer to nutty. The one thing to watch, harvest it small while the leaves are still just a couple inches long. Let it grow past that and it turns bitter fast. It also grows back quickly. Cut a batch now, and you can plant a second small batch a couple weeks later for a steady supply instead of one big harvest all at once. Mustard greens? This is the vegetable with an attitude. Mustard greens grow across the same wide range as arugula, zones 2 through 11, and mature just as fast. But the flavor doesn't play nice. Planted in real heat, the leaves come out sharper than most people want. Plant it now and let it mature in the cooler weeks ahead instead, and that sharpness fades. There's a bonus too. Pick the leaves young and they're mild enough for a salad. Let them grow bigger and they're better cooked, slow, with some heat behind them. Same plant, 2 different meals, depending only on when you pick it. Turnips. Most gardeners can grow this one without much trouble. Turnips cover zones 2 through 9. Most people who say they don't like turnips have only eaten the wrong kind, though. The old, overgrown storage version, woody, fibrous, sharp enough to ruin a dish. Harvest it early instead while the root is still about the size of a golf ball. At that stage, it's a completely different vegetable. Mild, a little sweet, crisp enough to eat raw like a radish. Hacare, in particular, is bred exactly for that. Small, smooth, and mild enough to eat straight out of the ground, and just like beets, this plant gives you 2 harvests. The greens on top are ready to eat weeks before the root is, so you're not waiting on one payoff. You get 2. Scallions. Scallions won't turn heads in the garden, but they'll probably end up on your plate more than anything else on this list once they get going. It's also easy to grow in most of the country, zones 3 through 9. And if you happen to be in zone 6 or warmer, it'll even survive right through the winter outdoors. Here's the trick that matters. Don't pull the whole plant when you harvest. Cut the green tops off with scissors instead and leave the base in the ground. It keeps regrowing, so one planting gives you several harvests instead of just one. That's Group 2, plants built for speed. Group 3 is a different challenge entirely, getting them to sprout at all. Group 3, the stubborn sprouters. 4 plants, 1 shared problem. The seed itself won't sprout in hot soil, so you have to outsmart it before you can even get started. Spinach. Cover the bed and spinach will even ride out winter in zone 6 or warmer. It grows in zones 2 through 9 overall. But the cold was never the problem for this plant. Getting it to sprout in the first place is. Spinach seed just won't germinate reliably once the soil's still hot. So timing matters more than anything else here. Sow it on the cooler edge of the window, not right in the peak heat. Once it's up though, it's built for everything that comes after. Lettuce has a stubborn streak just like spinach. Above a certain soil temperature, the seed simply refuses to sprout at all. The fix is the same idea. Shade the bed, keep the soil damp, and get the seedlings up. clear a couple inches tall, and the rest of the season actually works in lettuce's favor instead of against it. Most of the country can grow it too, though the range is a touch narrower than spinaches, running from Zone 4 through Zone 9. Bok choy. Same germination problem here. The seed struggles to sprout once the soil gets too warm, so give it afternoon shade and keep the bed consistently damp until it's established. Past that hurdle, it moves fast. Baby varieties are ready in about 30 days. Full-size heads take 45 to 60. It grows in zones 3 through 10. The payoff is worth the setup work too. A homegrown head has a crunch and sweetness that fades within days of harvest, which is exactly why the shipped grocery store version never tastes as good. To harvest, cut the whole head at the base once it's full size, or take a few outer stalks at a time from a maturing plant for an earlier taste. Cauliflower. The least forgiving plant on this list, and it's not really about germination this time. Cauliflower grows in zones 2 through 11, so almost anyone can plant it. The problem is what happens after. Most leafy greens forgive a bad week. Cut off some damaged leaves and the plant keeps going. Cauliflower doesn't get that same forgiveness. It generally gets one shot at forming its head, and any real stress while that's happening causes it to come out small, or with the individual sections spreading apart instead of packed tightly together. Start with a transplant instead of planting seeds straight in the ground this late in the season. That gives the plant a head start before the temperature swings hit, which removes most of the risk. That's Group 3, plants that need help getting started. Group 4 doesn't have that problem. These 3 don't quit, period. Group 4, the steady producers. 3 plants, and none of them quit. Heat doesn't slow them down, and frost doesn't stop them either. Swiss chard. Swiss chard is the outlier on this list. It doesn't bolt in heat the way spinach does, and it doesn't quit after frost the way tender greens do. It just keeps going through both extremes. It grows in zones 2 through 11, and in a mild zone 6 or warmer winter, it'll keep producing right through the cold season too. One thing worth knowing, the stems take longer to cook than the leaves. Treat them like 2 separate ingredients. Cook the stems first, then add the leaves near the end. Broccoli. Most broccoli failures aren't really the plant's fault. They're a timing mismatch. A lot of gardeners plant in spring. The head tries to form right as early summer heat arrives, and that heat is exactly what ruins it. The head stays loose or it bolts into flower before it's even worth cutting. Fall planting flips that timing around. It grows in zones 3 through 10. Start from a transplant instead of seed, and the head forms during a cooler stretch of weather instead of a hot one. Most varieties need 60 to 80 days from transplanting, so count backward from your first frost date before you pick a variety. Once the main head is ready and you cut it, don't pull the plant out of the ground. Side shoots keep coming from the base for weeks afterward, smaller than the first head, but just as good. It's essentially a second harvest from the same planting. Snap peas. Fall planting tends to skip right past this one, and that's worth correcting. Peas actually germinate more evenly in cool soil than in warm soil, which makes fall an easier start than spring ever was. Most people never think past a spring planting, so they miss that window entirely. They grow in zones 2 through 11. The payoff shows up later, too. Pods that mature as the nights cool down come in sweeter, and they're far less prone to the powdery mildew that tends to ruin a summer planting. Most varieties take 60 to 70 days to reach harvest, so check your first frost date before picking a variety this late in the season. Give them something to climb. Even a short trellis or a fence line works fine. Once the pods start filling out, check the vines every couple of days. Left too long on the vine, They turn starchy fast, so pick them while they're still flat to just slightly filled for the sweetest bite. That's group 4, the ones that just keep going. Group 5 is the opposite of all of it. One plant with no patience for the cold at all. Group 5, the ticking clock. One plant saved for last on purpose. It's the only one on this list racing the cold instead of waiting for it. Bush beans. Everything else on this list wants the cold coming. Bush beans don't. They're a warm season plant. The seed needs warm soil to germinate. The vines need warm days to flower and set pods, and a single light frost ends the whole crop overnight. They grow in zones 3 through 10, but frost ends the crop in every one of them. There's no overwintering this plant, no matter where you live. This is the one entry on the list where timing isn't a preference. It's the entire game. Check the seed packet for days to harvest, then check your area's expected first frost date. Don't plant something that finishes right on that date. Leave yourself a week or 2 of extra room in case the season runs short. Get seed in the ground now, not sometime this month. Everything else on this list rewards patience. This one punishes it. 17 plants, 5 different reasons to plant them, and one of them running against a clock the rest of this list doesn't have to worry about. The season isn't ending. For a lot of what's on this list, it's actually just getting started. If any of this saved you a wasted planting, subscribe. Guess there's always another window coming. And drop a comment with where you're watching from. It helps me plan what to cover next. I'm Elias Ford. Take care of what you grow. It will take care of you. See you in the next one.